Now today I'm going to introduce you to a concept called the Stockdale Paradox, one of the most confronting pieces of research in psychology, Martin Seligman's work on learned helplessness. The lesson from it is really powerful. Seligman placed puppies in a small crate divided by a low barrier, and one side of the crate delivered a mild electric shock through the floor and the other side did not. Now all the puppies had to do to escape the shock was to step over the barrier, okay? But here's where it gets interesting. Before the experiment, some of the puppies had been placed in a situation where no matter what they did, they couldn't stop the shock. They had no control, no escape, and no ability to change the outcome. So when those same puppies were later put into the crate where the escape route was available, they didn't even try. They simply lay down and accepted the shock. And I've seen chiropractors fall into the same pattern. You tried marketing campaigns, you hired and fired staff, you attempted system, and when things didn't work the way that you hoped, your brain quietly concluded, why bother? This is just the way that practice is now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing and Practice Podcast, the podcast where I have the pleasure of simplifying the marketing and the mindset so you, the chiropractor, can grow your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice too. Now, today I'm going to introduce you to a concept called the Stockdale Paradox. Now, if you've read Good to Great by Jim Collins, you might remember the moment when Collins asked Admiral James Stockdale a really simple but incredibly powerful question. He asked him this: who didn't survive the POW camps? Now, Stockdale's answer here was incredibly surprising. He said, oh, that's easy. It was the optimists, okay? These were the prisoners who kept on saying, we'll be out by Christmas, and Christmas would come and go. Then they'd say, we'll be out by Easter, and Easter would come and go. And over time, what happened is their spirits broke because the reality kept disappointing their expectations. But Stockdale, who survived 8 years of torture and isolation and uncertainty, said something really, really profound. He said, you must never confuse faith with you will prevail in the end with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality. Let me say that again. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality. And that's the paradox, okay? Now, if you've been in chiropractic for more than 5 minutes, you know exactly how relevant this is, because as chiropractors, we tend to fall into one of two traps. Trap number one is blind optimism. It's the next month is going to be better somehow. This mindset, though, has no plan, no feedback loops, no metrics, no honest look in the mirror. There's just hope, and hope on its own is a terrible strategy, okay? And it's a strategy that many of us as chiropractors fall into when we want to grow our practice. By our nature, many of us tend to be optimistic and we live our lives by the build it and they will come philosophy. Now, trap number two is often referred to as defeated realism, okay? This is the chiropractor who quietly thinks, maybe this is just how practice is. They stop dreaming, they stop innovating, and their identity shrinks to match their current circumstances. Now, a lot of chiropractors don't start off here, but many of us end up here. And this reminds me of one of the most confronting pieces of research in psychology, Martin Seligman's work on learned helplessness. Now, the way this research is done is often difficult to hear, but the lesson from it is really powerful. Seligman placed puppies in a small crate divided by a low barrier, and one side of the crate delivered a mild electric shock through the floor, and the other side did not. Now, all the puppies had to do to escape the shock was to step over the barrier, okay? But here's where it gets interesting. Before the experiment, some of the puppies had been placed in a situation where no matter what they did, they couldn't stop the shock. They had no control, no escape, and no ability to change the outcome. So when those same puppies were later put into the crate where the escape route was available, they didn't even try. The barrier was low, the escape was obvious. They simply lay down and accepted the shock. Not because they were weak and not because they lacked intelligence, but because they'd learned that nothing that they did made a difference. And this is exactly what defeated realism looks like in the chiropractic practice. You've been through seasons where marketing didn't work, staff left, their numbers dropped, life just kept punching you harder than you could swing back. And over time, it became easy to adopt the same belief. Why bother? This is just how practice is going to be now. But the Stockdale Paradox gives us a different way. It gives us a middle path, which can be incredibly valuable. It invites us to hold on to unwavering faith that our practice can be great, with a deep grounded confidence in the future. And at the same time, we can confront the brutal facts of where we're falling short right now. Neither, either, or. It's all about both and. Now, before we get practical with this, I want to zoom out and I want to revisit the framework that you've heard me talk about before, the 7-figure lifestyle practice triangle, okay? Because at the end of the day, there really are only 3 problems that we need to solve to have the practice of our dreams, okay? Remember, problem number 1 is no one knows you. Number 2, no one stays. And number 3, we have no time. Now, when you solve these problems, we unlock 3 outcomes that every chiropractor actually wants, okay? We want quality new patients every week. We want loyal long-term advocates. And number 3 here, we want a self-managing practice. This is simple, but not necessarily easy. Now, here's where the Stockdale Paradox becomes incredibly practical, because the paradox exists inside each side of the triangle. Let me show you what I mean, okay? So triangle side number 1, no one knows you. This is the marketing paradox, okay? To grow your visibility, you have to believe that you can become the most trusted chiropractor in your community and confront the brutal facts that your current marketing might be inconsistent, unclear, or too reliant on one source. The paradox here is having a clear marketing plan and not tying yourself to only one way of getting new patients. You need structure and adaptability, consistency and creativity. This is the Stockdale Paradox applied to new patient generation. The second side of the triangle, no one stays. This is a retention and a conversion paradox, okay? To create long-term advocates, you must have unwavering faith that you can deliver extraordinary value and confront the brutal facts that maybe your communication, your connection, and your report of findings process might need work. The paradox here is you need a framework for communication and you need to be able to adapt to the individual in front of you. You need structure without rigidity, leadership without scripts. This is what builds long-term retention. And the third and final side of that triangle there is no time, okay? This is a leadership paradox. To build a self-managing practice, you need to believe deeply that your team can run the practice without you and confront the brutal reality that probably right now you might be leading reactively instead of proactively. The paradox here is you need to give your team room to innovate, and you need to have clear job descriptions, KPIs, and accountability, okay? This is freedom and structure. This is support and standards. Now, this is the Stockdale Paradox when it comes to leadership. Now, when you start seeing your practice through this lens, faith in the destination and honesty about the current reality, growth stops feeling chaotic. It becomes predictable, it becomes grounded, and it becomes inevitable as well. So what do we do with all of this? Because the Stockdale Paradox isn't just a nice idea. It's not a motivational poster. It's a practice-building operating system. And the power of it comes when you apply it week by week, decision by decision, and conversation by conversation. Now, here's the practical takeaway, the part I want ringing in your ears long after this episode ends. Your job as the chiropractor is to cultivate unshakable faith in where your practice is going and develop the discipline to face the truth about where it is right now. And when you hold both of these at the same time, you stop swinging between false hope and quiet resignation. You become steady, you become focused, and you become the kind of leader that your team and community can trust. Now, in a moment, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to implement this and how to use the Stockdale Paradox to make better decisions, run better systems, to lead more effectively, and to grow with more peace and predictability as well. So let's get practical, okay? How is it that we implement the Stockdale Paradox in our practice? Now, most chiropractors feel this paradox, but very few have a system for living it, okay? So here's 3 simple and repeatable practices that operationalize the Stockdale Paradox inside your practice, okay? Number 1 is called the weekly brutal facts review. Every week, same day, same time, ask yourself these 3 questions. Question number 1, What's actually working? Okay. Now, we often ignore the wins because we're already on to the next problem there. The second question we ask ourselves is what's not working? Now, be honest here. Numbers don't lie. Avoidance does. And the third question is, what am I pretending not to know? This question in itself will change your practice, okay? What is it that you're pretending not to know? Now, this is not self-judgment. It's clarity, and clarity is kindness to yourself, to your team, and to your future, okay? Now, the second part of this when we're operationalizing the Stockdale Paradox is the monthly vision reset. So once a month, reconnect with the future that you're building. Why does your practice exist? What kind of chiropractor do you want to become? What does your dream practice look and feel like? This is optimism that's grounded in purpose, not fantasy. Because if you don't revisit your vision, the brutal facts of the present will slowly erode it. And the third and final part of this is the 90-day paradox plan. Every quarter, choose one brutal fact that you're going to solve and one big leap of faith that you'll act on. So an example might be this as a brutal fact: my new patient flow is inconsistent, okay? My leap of faith: I can become the most trusted family chiropractor in my area. And the paradox plan is I'm going to build a 3-channel new patient strategy that aligns with a bigger vision. This is where optimism and realism shake hands. Now, when you structure your thinking this way, your practice is going to become less emotional, less reactive, and way more predictable, okay? You stop riding the roller coaster and you begin steering the ship, and that's when everything starts to change. So here's what I want you to take from today. The chiropractors who grow, not just in numbers, but in confidence, in leadership and peace, are the ones who learn to live in the tension. They hold the faith in the future and the honesty in the present as well. They stay optimistic and grounded. They dream big and they look reality in the eye. This is not about being perfect. It is about being awake in your practice, because when you practice the Stockdale Paradox, something remarkable starts to happen. Problems are going to start to feel smaller because you'll stop avoiding them, okay? Opportunities will feel bigger because you believe that you can actually reach them. Your team is going to trust you way more because you're going to be steady and not swinging between extremes. And your decisions are going to get clearer and less emotionally. And most importantly, you're going to begin to feel like the chiropractor you always hoped that you would become, not by accident, but by design. So as you move through this next week, I want you to ask yourself, where do I need to be more honest? Where do I need more faith? And what would change if I held on to both of those at the same time? That's the work, okay? And that's the work that will help to build your 7-figure lifestyle practice. All right, team, that's it for today. Thanks for all that you do. Keep saving lives, and I'll see you back here next week. See ya. Bye. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.